Good morning, Redemption Hill Church, Tuesday, July 21st. Hope everything finds you well this morning as we go through the midst of crazy COVID time. A lot of different issues on that, and we'll let that thing lie. Um, Last week, we looked at the life of Mary just a little bit and got to see her a little bit and how her life is a life of praise. And so we want to look a little bit at Martha. And just examine her real quickly. But before we do, in this account, there's something that jumped off the page. And so I have to share that because I think it's so important and I think it's so valuable to us as believers. And you remember the account, right? Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, they're buddies with Jesus. I mean, Jesus had ministry, but he would hang out at their house. It was like he would recharge there and he'd hang with the disciples and they would have dinner and just different things. So it appeared that this was a resting stop for him and his disciples. And he was friends with these guys. So it wasn't just ministry, although he always was sharing and giving of himself, but um, it was a friendship that he had developed with them. And they knew that. And so the account is that Lazarus gets sick, and Martha is getting word to him in this sickness that, hey, man, Lazarus is sick here. Jesus, you're healing everybody. And Lazarus is really sick. So you need to get over here and help him because we're friends. And I want to look at this one verse real quick. Then we're going to move into Martha. But I had to look at this. I had to speak on this. She gets word to Jesus. She says, Lord, behold, he whom you love is sick. He whom you love. That's the statement that you and I always need to make. He whom you love. Whatever we're going through, we need to be able to say, Lord, you love me. You care about me. And we need to say that because we need to know it. I can say it, but do I know it? Paul talks about it in Ephesians that we would know this past knowledge. See, yes, the Bible tells me he loves me, but do I know it? Do I know it deep down, as Paul talks about in Ephesians 3, that you may know the love of Christ that passes understanding? Well, I'll tell you what. How do you do that? How do you know that? Tell me about your devotional life. Do you have a devotional life? Because if you do, then you're going to know his love. I'm not talking about a devotional life, just studying, although it is important to study Scripture. But I'm talking about a devotional life as you read Scripture and you allow it to apply it to your life personally. You spend personal time with the God who is personal. He wants to be intimate with you, and you allow him, and you talk to him, and you pour your heart out. And you say, Lord, I don't like this about me or that, or Lord, thank you for, the word is speaking to your heart and you're spending intimate time with your Father. And you're going to know the love of Christ that passes understanding. Tell me about your devotional life, and I'll tell you about knowing the Scripture. He whom is sick, whom you love is sick. You and I need to be able to say that. We need devotional life each and every day. Not because we have to do it, but because it's our lifeblood to spend it with him. So, number one, that isn't really about Martha, I know, but that's important, right? It's there, and I got to say that. Okay, so now we come to Martha. The first time we see Martha in Scripture, what do we see? Well, Martha is serving, and Mary and Martha invited Jesus to the house, and Mary's sitting at Jesus' feet, and Martha's tripping on this, like, I'm doing all the work, Mary's not doing diddly, and I want some help, Lord. Tell her, you're the boss guy, you're the rabbi, you're the king guy. Let's get this show on the road. And Jesus answered and said to her, Martha, Martha, you are worried and troubled about many things. I think that Martha's a little bit, she's a worker, but I think she's a little bit of a worrywart, right? She has lots of things troubling her, lots of things bothering her. And she says, you're troubled about many things, Martha. But one thing is needed. That's to know me and hear me. And Mary has chosen that good part which will not be taken from her. So Martha's like, what? I'm having you over for dinner. And you're saying she just gets to sit there? Something happens in Martha's life. That's the first account we see of her in Scripture. But now we get another account. Jesus delays his coming. She sends the message. He whom you love, Lazarus, is sick. He dies. He's in the grave, in the tomb, 4 days. That's a long time. It's not like 15 minutes. Not like 5. Oh, his heart stopped. I mean, the cat's gone, and he's gone for 4 days, right? Martha says something. She says, when Jesus shows up, she says, Lord, if you'd been here, my brother would not have died. And that's true. Jesus said, I'm glad I'm staying away for his disciples' sake, that they might see the glory of God. They might see him move, right? And raise this guy. But then she says this, but even now, I know that whatever you ask of God, God will give you. But even now, whatever. Where did that come from? That wasn't her. Well, the first time we see her in Luke, the first time we see her in Scripture, she's worried about a lot of things. Now her heart is more settled, isn't it? And now faith in Jesus is at a pinnacle. Remember, this, we're looking at a historical account. We can look back and go, yeah, he raised them. Wow, big deal. Put yourself right in the midst of that. This hasn't been written. This hasn't happened. And she's living it. And Jesus, who's healed everybody and done miracles everywhere, and her brother dies. And she comes to him. And she comes and has amazing faith. But even now, Lord, but even now. You and I, this is where the Lord would desire for you and I to be at times. Because there's times we go through difficulties. And he doesn't want us to, and even though it's hard, and things may knock us down, and things may be difficult, he wants you and I to be at a place we can say, but even now, God, even now, maybe the business didn't work out. Maybe that situation I thought was going to be so neat, it didn't really turn out that way. But even now, Lord, you can do something. Even now, you can be glorified in what I'm going through. But even now, you can show yourself strong and mighty. Well, how did she get that? Where did that come from? Jesus asks her, he says, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he may die, he shall live, and whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this, Martha? Really? He's talking to Martha. She said to him, yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who has come into the world. You see, Martha wasn't just serving that whole time. Martha learned to listen. Martha learned to take it in and believe. And it gave her a sense of peace. It gave her a sense of strength in the midst of the loss of her brother. She just didn't fall on the ground and roll around and scream and point fingers. You didn't show up and you didn't come and you didn't do this and blah, blah, blah. She said, but even now, Lord, even now, in the midst of impossibility, God can be glorified and you can raise my brother. Jesus goes on to say to her, he says, didn't I say to you that if you would believe, you would see the glory of God? There comes a point in all of our lives, in difficult situations, that sometimes we may not understand this side of heaven, but we can say, but even now, God, even now, you can do something and make something good out of a hard situation. For her, Jesus raises Lazarus. And for us, the Lazaruses in our lives, in our family, in our situations, Jesus can do the miraculous. You have a loved one that's not following him, that's out running around, and you see destruction on the future. But even now, Lord, you have family situations, relationships, businesses, sickness. But even now, Lord, even now, at this late hour, you can be glorified. Jesus said, men ought always to pray and not lose heart. And remember, he said, and all things are possible with my Father. Today, as you spend time with Jesus in his word and spending time at his feet, get to know that he loves you, and that is the truth. And then as you grow in him, may your faith grow, and may you honor him as you go through this life. Remember, David said in difficulties, if I had not believed to see your goodness in the land of the living, I would have lost hope. That's faith in a good God. And you and I need that in the midst of this world, in the midst of everything that goes on. But even now, God, she got that because she knew who Jesus was. God bless you. I pray you know him better and better today, and you will be able to trust in him. But even now, God bless. Have a great day.